Greetings, class. Today we're going to talk about making inferences. Now, this is something that you do every day, whether you know that you do it or not. For example, if you went to sleep one night and when you woke up it was wet outside, there were puddles, you would assume or make the inference that it rained overnight while you were asleep. And this is because A, you have background knowledge about rain and the effects of rain, and B, you see the puddles and that the ground is wet outside. So it's little things like that that show that you make inferences every day, whether you realize it or not. And so today we're going to look at making inferences in reading. So on your paper, you'll write making inferences. Put a box around it, two little triangles, and some sideways W's, and you have a banner. But we're going to look at making inferences. Now, this should be page 1 of your language arts notebook. So from this point forward, if I tell you to refer back to page 1 in your notebook, I'm asking you to go back to looking at your making inferences notes. Now, making inferences. So let's look at what exactly that means. So, when you make an inference, I'm going to put this in a different color and in all capitals so you know that it is important. Before I continue, the fact that this is in a different color and in all capitals should tell you that it is important. That is an inference you made by the fact that it is in all capitals and in different colors. So again, you make inferences without even knowing it sometimes. But when you make an inference, what you're doing is you go beyond what the author has said to understand what is not said in the text. Now, this is very important. It's very important to keep this in mind. So if you get asked a question about what can you infer from the text, or what inferences can you make based on this passage, or what does this paragraph help you infer, if one of the answer choices is stated in the text, then that means that's not an inference. Because as it says right here, an inference is what's not said in the text. This is very, very, very important. So make sure that you underline not said. Now, before we continue, we're going to go back to this word inference. We're going to go back to this word inference, and we're going to define what an inference is, and to help you put it in words that you may have heard before. Now, an inference is an educated guess. This is nothing but an educated guess. All right? And you're going to use inferences. You're going to use these inferences to put pieces together. Now, this is something, again, that is very important. You have to know how to infer in text and in life. You got to know that If there's a person walking around with headphones in and their head down, they probably don't want to be bothered. If you go and mess with them, they're probably not going to be happy about it. But you use inferences or educated guesses to put pieces together. And I think of inferences as a puzzle. That's why I said put pieces together. So we're going to draw a little puzzle here. And I'm a terrible drawer, so if you're not good at drawing, it's okay, because neither am I. In fact, I'm very bad at it. As you can see, my puzzle pieces are not even close to the same size. But we're going to look at it as putting pieces together. All right? Like a puzzle. So let's put these pieces together. The first puzzle piece are clues in the text. These are clues in the text. All right? Or what we call text evidence. Now, you're going to do a lesson on text evidence later in the week. But go ahead and have this in your notes so that you know making inferences and textual evidence go together. But those are clues in the text. The second puzzle piece is what you know. What you know. Now, this can be two different ways. You have two different ways of what you know. It can be your prior knowledge, things you learned in school. Or things you've heard about, or whatever. If it's nonfiction, if it's a nonfiction text, a real life text, you can take your prior knowledge of what you learned in science class and apply that to the text. And you can make those inferences about what the author is trying to say or what the author believes based on your prior knowledge of that subject. In fiction text, it's what's already been said. So, you could be making an inference about something that happened in chapter 3 of a book, and you're going to use your information from chapters 1 and 2 to help you make that inference. Or the background knowledge about that character. So if throughout a book a character has been sneaky and shady, and then something comes up missing, there's a thief running around stealing stuff, you can infer that it's the sneaky, shady character that's running around stealing stuff. All right? So, what's already been said, that's what you could use in fiction text, your prior knowledge. You can use that in nonfiction text. Sometimes you can combine them both, depending on the text itself. Now, this third puzzle piece are going to be questions that you have. Questions. These are questions that you can ask yourself. Why is it like this? Why is it like that? And then this last puzzle piece is what you can infer. I can infer. All right, so all of this goes together. The clues in the text and what you already know help answer the questions that you have so you can infer X, Y, and Z. If you need to pause the video here because I'm about to erase the whiteboard, you can, but our notes are still going to continue. So underneath this, just pretend that what I erased is just me moving the paper up. So underneath it is what the next part of the notes are going to be. So I'll leave the text evidence part. Erase. I hate having to teach virtually so that I can't answer your questions in live time as you have them. But if you do have questions, be sure to email me, text my Google number, call my Google number, leave a voicemail if I don't answer, come to my office hours, etc., ask your questions. This is all very important. These are skills you're going to use throughout the year. Now, so, we're going to draw ourselves. I'm going to draw me as a stick figure. So I have this giant bald head. Right? Ooh. Me. This is this little conversation bubble, we're going to put words that we would use when we are inferring. So, inside at the top of the bubble are words you use. Okay? Word you use. And these are words or sentence starters that you would use when you are making inferences. So we have the one from the puzzle piece, which is I can infer. It can be as simple as I think, and then you continue filling out your sentence. My guess is. It could be I predict. So what do you think is going to happen? I predict that Lucy robbed the store. Perhaps. And then you can make your inference. Perhaps Lucy isn't as bad as we thought. Perhaps Lucy isn't a shady character because she was nice to Juan. So you have perhaps, or you have this could mean. This is another one. Now, a lot of times if you have cliffhangers at the end of a chapter, at the end of a section, at the end of a short story, this could mean that Sally isn't a robber. She's being set up by Greg because Greg is a jerk. So, different sentence starters that you have, or that word you could use if you are making an inference. Now, again, you can make your little stick person look like you. I'm just a skinny guy with a big giant head. So, I made my stick person a skinny guy with a big giant head and no hair because I'm bald. So the last thing we're going to look at is we're just going to make this big cloud over here so that it draws your attention every time you come to this page. Okay, every time you turn to page 1 of your notebook, this big giant cloud hopefully gets your attention. I'm going to draw a very, very poorly drawn book and incorporate some math in the language arts today. All right, this book represents text clues. Text clues. All right, so we take our text clues and we add that. So text clues plus, again, draw myself, big giant head, no hair. Me thinking, or what I already know. Equals. And now I'm going to draw a very poorly drawn light bulb. Light bulb. Or that equals text clues plus what you already know equals an inference. And once you have that inference, you take one of these sentence starters that we discussed and put your inference into a complete sentence. Now, as I said, later on in the week, we're going to do another lesson on textual evidence, and then we're going to take making inferences, and we're going to take our textual evidence and we're going to put them together. All right? Please complete the following or the near pod assignment on making inferences, and if you have any questions, reach out to me.